And yeah, let's read this first story because this is breaking just about in the past hour. Check this out. Trump orders review to defund NYC, other anarchist cities. And I find the title interesting. He orders a review because right away that actually sounds pretty good. You don't want to just be like, we're taking all your money away, because what if there's money for like orphans? Mm-hmm. You know, well, hold on. Like the orphans shouldn't suffer because the city's defunding their police. But if it is towards certain programs that aren't, you know, someone's immediate health care or something, then maybe it makes sense. But then in the story, they actually say he's just ordering them to do it. So here we go. They say President Trump is ordering the federal government to begin the process of defunding New York City and 3 other cities where officials allowed lawless protests and cut police budgets amid rising violent crime, the Post can exclusively reveal. Trump on Wednesday signed a 5-page memo ordering all federal agencies to send reports to the White House Office of Management and Budget that detail funds that can be redirected. New York City, Washington, D.C., Seattle, and Portland are initial targets as Trump makes law and order a centerpiece of his re-election campaign after months of unrest and violence following the May killing of George Floyd. Quote, "My administration will not allow federal tax dollars to fund cities that allow themselves to deteriorate into lawless zones," Trump says in the memo, which twice mentions New York Mayor Bill de Blasio by name. Good.
Excellent.
Where are you from, Drew?
I'm from California.
All right. So, but you have you spent time in New York at all?
I've done reporting in New York, and when I did, interestingly, when the whole painting the BLM mural on the floor was happening, I was there that night, and someone was going to do it again. Right, some patriots. They had all their paint cans. They were ready to
smear it.
They were going to do it. They were going to smear it. But NYPD, one of the officers came up and were like, "Hey, what are you doing? You can't do this." They confiscated it, and then I actually questioned the officer. I was like,
"Interesting.
Where are you getting your orders from?" And he's like, "It's coming from the top." I was like, "De Blasio? Is so?" And I said, "You mean to tell me that Black Lives Matter could riot, loot, vandalize New York, but patriots can't do the same thing?" And he's like, "Well, my orders aren't coming from me. They're coming from the top." I was like, "De Blasio?" And he said, "Yes."
Interesting. Wow.
That's on video.
But think about it. Yeah. I mean, there was mass looting in New York.
Mm-hmm.
They defunded their police. They got rid of the plainclothes unit. Mm-hmm. Lethal crime, I should say, specifically started to skyrocket because petty crime is going down. But lethal crime, shootings, we had that horrifying video. I don't know if you saw it, where the dude was walking with his 4-year-old daughter, and then a car just pulls up and goes bang and kills him. Mm-hmm. And this guy's got the nerve to be like, where should we allocate our funds? Let's paint Black Lives Matter in front of Trump Tower because Trump sucks.
Yeah.
And then they have 27 cops guarding that mural. Dude, and I can't believe the cops are doing it.
When I was in New York reporting that weekend, there was I think a week or two before, the 1-year-old little black baby was caught in the crossfire and was shot and killed. Wow. So I went to Defend the Blue gathering, right? And, you know, all the SJWs, they all showed up to counter protest. And they were literally chanting, you know, some of the Defend the Blue guys were like, "What about the baby? What about his life? He's black. What about him?" And the counter protesters, all the Black Lives Matter people, were like, "Shut up about the baby thing already."
Wow. I'm not surprised.
This is all on camera, you know?
Yeah,
so if people don't believe
course.
me, I document this stuff so people can see.
Yeah.
It's not only hypocritical, it's evil, bro. Like, what do you mean, shut up about the baby?
And at Lives Matter Show on Twitter. Because
Twitter.
Normally I pull up all the citations, but everything you say, you post videos of it, you're on Twitter.
I'll cite everything that's video documented.
So let's it was a nice little sidestep to rag on de Blasio a little bit. Let's keep reading and see what's going on.
Got it.
They say, quote, "To ensure that federal funds are neither unduly wasted nor spent in a manner that directly violates our government's promise to protect life, liberty, and property, it is imperative that the federal government review the use of federal funds by jurisdictions that permit anarchy, violence, and destruction in America's cities." I love that. Permit anarchy. Yes, it's like, it's not really anarchy if you're allowing it to happen. It's just you're not enforcing the law. I guess you can call it permitting anarchy. It's a funny way to phrase it. Federal agencies must detail all federal funds provided to Seattle, Portland, New York, and D.C. Also, within 14 days, Attorney General Bill Barr must develop a list of anarchist jurisdictions that permit violence and the destruction of property to persist and have refused to undertake reasonable measures to restore order. The memo does not require Barr to include the 4 cities, possibly for legal reasons. The memo instructs White House Budget Director Russ Vought to issue guidance in 30 days from Wednesday to the heads of agencies on restricting eligibility of or otherwise disfavoring, to the maximum extent permitted by law, anarchist jurisdictions in the receipt of federal grants. The amount of money impacted by Trump's order could be massive New York City, for example, gets about $7 billion a year in federal aid. New York is named because of a crime wave as officials cut police funds. The city had a 177% spike in shootings in July compared to last year. The city council approved a budget in July that cuts $1 billion from the NYPD's $6 billion budget and eliminates $537 million in capital spending. The memo says that in New York City, city officials have allowed violence to spike. In light of this unconscionable rise in violence, I have offered to provide federal law enforcement assistance, but both Mayor de Blasio and Governor Andrew Cuomo have rejected my offer. And that's true. Mm-hmm. While violence has surged, arrests have plummeted. In a 28-day period during the months of June and July, New York City arrests were down 62% from the same period in 2019. Amidst the rising violence, Mayor Bill de Blasio and New York City Council agreed to cut $1 billion from the New York Police Department from their budget, including by canceling the hiring of 1,163 officers. The memo also cites NYPD Commissioner Dermot Shea's June disbandment of plainclothes units. Police officials have cited this decision as a factor contributing to the rise in violence. The document knocks the performance of Democratic mayors in each city, as well as state leaders. Quote, as a result of these state and local government policies, persistent and outrageous acts of violence and destruction have continued unabated in many of America's cities, such as Portland, Seattle, New York, and New York, the memo says. In D.C., Mayor Muriel Bowser allowed rioters and anarchists to engage in violence and destruction in late May and early June, requiring me to call in the National Guard to maintain law and order in the nation's capital. The memo in the works for weeks does not directly reference activists confronting guests of Trump's RNC speech as they left the White House, probably because it was being put together a while ago. This is fairly long, so I'll just read the conclusion. They say a senior administration official told the Post, taxpayers shouldn't foot the bill for local politicians' dereliction of duty. And President Trump is ensuring taxpayer dollars are not wasted by lawless mayors. The list of cities and possibly states will be updated periodically with input from the Justice Department, the official said. And federal agencies will be directed to revise grant conditions when applicable to uphold the rule of law. The official said Portland, the smallest city on the list, got more than $252 million in federal funds in fiscal 2019, including for police operations. Well, you've been on the ground in many of these cities, right?
Let me highlight this real quick.
Yeah.
That last sentence, the official said Portland, the smallest city on the list, got more than $252 million federal funds in fiscal 2019. At the press conference the other day, the police chief in Portland made it very clear that they are being exhausted of their resources. That's questionable. How is it that they're receiving $252 million, but the police bureau in Portland is being exhausted of their resources? I don't blame the police. I don't blame the police chief. Ted Wheeler, these governors that are in positions of power that designate and delegate this kind of money, it doesn't add up. This is why the investigation's taking place. And I've said this on air, different podcasts, Tim. People have asked me and they've questioned me, Drew, so what do you think we do? What's the answer to this? And I'm like, investigations need to take place.
You're saying that someone's taking that money?
No, I believe that there are elected officials that are working with Antifa, working with different organizations in these cities. That's why they're labeling them as anarchists and somehow dishing money to fund these people.
Well, but you think that?
I'm almost positive.
We'll pull the story up.
Yeah.
Quote, I am Antifa. Could be Portland's next mayor.
Okay, well.
So I'm pretty sure.
There it is.
Dude,
I think you're right.
The city councilman in Seattle led the protesters to the homes of other politicians and the mayor herself. It was a city councilwoman, other council members' homes, and the mayor, and they all got really, really mad about it. Yeah, there are politicians that actively work with the funding thing. I don't know, because it's not expensive to be a destructive moron running around smashing things. It's actually quite cheap.
Yeah.
You find a rock, you throw it. That's what they do. Mm-hmm. As for politicians actively being engaged in this behavior, quite literally, yes.
Yes.
We watch it happen all the time.
Yeah.
So, but I will point out, as it goes with the $252 million, I mean, the Portland police have been at every single night for 3 months. That's a lot of overtime. It's a lot of medical bills, equipment, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I got to imagine that's expensive.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know about $252 million, though.
That's what I'm saying, man.
That's crazy.
They are exhausted. I have families of the PPB that reach out to me. They're families of police officers. The horror stories are insane.
Like what? Give us some. What's going on?
One family reached out to me and let me know that their family, a police officer's family, was doxxed. And that can only happen if an elected official or some insiders in the government release. This is private information. You can't get police officers' home addresses or anything like that. And Antifa has showed up to their house and threatened their children in their front yard.
Are these the tactical officers who come out for the riots?
No, these are stationed in Portland, not DHS. Not.
I mean,
not
that's what I mean though. So like when the riot cops come out, they don't have. Do they have badge numbers and badges or their names?
I think sometimes they do. I'm not quite too sure. Because sometimes they do cover them.
Because if it right, I know that with the feds that came out, they had identifiers like NZ1 was one of them. I think it was NZ1 or something like that. That you can't dox. But if I see your name and I see your badge number, then it's going to be really easy to find out everything about you.
Yeah.
Everything. So that's why I'm curious. Like
I think this specific family isn't actually on the lines.
They're not doing riot work.
Yeah, they're not doing riot work.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I got to tell you, man, the way Ted Wheeler acts and the way the attorney general in Oregon sued to defend the rioters.
Yeah, and the Portland DA is friends with Antifa, right?
Well, he did an interview apparently. Like so somebody tweeted out that the DA himself is like a far left guy who's friends with these people because he had done an interview where he mentioned that once he's elected, he's gonna totally, what do they call it? Restorative justice or whatever. I don't know, what does that mean? Restorative justice?
It could mean anything these days.
It's just
whatever their definition is. It could be restorative justice according to an anarchist or a communist. That's a whole nother definition. So you got to kind of know in context what these people are talking about.
Well, what they said, and I think this was the Veritas videos, the undercover videos from the Bernie Sanders staffers. It's sending people to a gulag to break rocks so they learn what it means to do hard work.
There you go.
It's funny because these people haven't done a hard day's work in their lives. Most of these people, I don't know, tell me if you think I'm wrong. I don't think many of these Antifa people have lifted a heavy object in their life. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but you know what I'm trying to say, right? What's your opinion on that?
I mean, a lot of these people, they're just a lot of soy boys, like I'm not, that's not derogatory. I'm being honest. Every now and then I'll see an Antifa dude out there that is kind of fit, but they are bold in their numbers. Like some police officers that I've talked to, they've told me anytime they get arrested, like these kids are just so bold on the street. They're just in their face. They're cussing. They're going insane. But when they get arrested, when they're with the police, just zip. They're like these little church kids.
We got to talk about this, but I want to ask you a couple more questions about the funding.
If that exists.
We got a really funny story to talk about in terms of Antifa curling up into a fetal position and crying their eyes out. But I do want to ask you, how many cities have you been to so far with all the rioting from Antifa?
Man,
all of them.
Kenosha, Seattle, Chaz, New York, DC, some stuff in LA.
The big ones that Trump's talking about.
Yep.
Do you think that, is Trump right to say that the cities, the governments are kind of allowing this or exacerbating it or just not doing their jobs?
Oh, 100%, especially in Portland.
I mean, for sure.
100%, because the police are trained. They're trained to be able to put a stop to all of this stuff, but their hands are tied. They're ordered not to use the kind of excessive force that they're trained to use against anarchy.
Well, hold on. Excessive force. They're trained to use appropriate force, and they're told they can't use appropriate force.
Yeah.
The excessive force thing, I think, that's Antifa will argue that any force against them is excessive. But dude, if you're throwing Molotov
cocktails
and a cop pushes you and then
you're cementing the police precinct door with people inside of it and throwing Molotov cocktails and the police are going to have to use.
That was Seattle, right?
Yeah, that was Seattle, man.
The mayor of Portland said that they were trying to kill people. That's when they barricaded the back and the front of the I don't know which.
Dude, they're trying to kill him. They were literally lighting the base of his condo on fire the other night. He's moved. He apologized to the residences around. Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
He's like, I'm so sorry. This has nothing to do with you guys, or politics or anything. I'm like, what are you talking about? These are your constituents. You were elected to protect these people.
He could have him. He's a police commissioner, isn't he?
Yep.
Can't he just have him arrested?
Yep.
Well, I guess the problem is the DA.
Yep. You know what mistake he made though? You know what he said in the press conference a couple days ago?
What did he say?
When he was coming down on Trump, he said, around the lines of, I would die for a Trump supporter to be able to protest peacefully in front of my house. those are some fighting words for
Wow.
Antifa.
Yeah,
bro.
You know the Proud Boys are heading
Those
to
are some
Portland.
fighting
I
words.
remember that.
You
Yeah.
hear the Proud Boys are heading up there.
Mm-hmm.
Was it September 26th, I think?
24th, somewhere
Yeah.
around there.
I think it's a bad idea.
Yeah.
I respect people's rights to peacefully protest, so far be it from me to tell anybody what they can or can't do, but it's going to be, they're going to get probably 1 million hours of footage of right-wing
Boy.
extremists.
Yeah.
Every angle. There'll be like, a dude will, it's like the Ryan Long joke where, I don't know, have you ever seen Ryan Long's comedy videos?
I've seen a couple.
He did one where it's how do you sell footage to Fox and CNN?
Uh-huh.
And one of his jokes is that he accidentally sent footage of young black men picking up garbage to Fox News, and they're like, "What are we supposed to do with this?" And he goes, "You can play it backwards. It looks like they're littering." It's a great joke. He's hilarious. But that's the kind of stuff. I mean, it's a joke, but yeah, you'll get a video of one of these Proud Boys like flicking a cigarette into a trash bin, and then they'll freeze frame it with his middle finger up saying he's flicking off residents. You know what I mean? They'll just like, they'll go nuts with it.
Yeah.
But hey, man, people have a right to peacefully protest. I just think Antifa's going to show up, start a fight, and then the journalists are not going to be aiming the cameras at Antifa.
Yep.
They're going to be aiming the cameras at the Proud Boys.
Yeah, they have their own designated media. The streamers, they're all designated. You know, they claim to be centrists. They claim to be down the middle, but they're not.
They're absolutely not. When I used to do live streaming, like when I first started doing streaming back at Occupy Wall Street, I got physically threatened. They came up to me and they said, from now on, you only film the police. You don't film what we do. And I said, I'm going to film everybody. And they were like, if you do that, we will stop you.
And that's the moment Tim Pool became a right-wing extremist.
I mean, the funny thing is...
Kind of, yeah, sure.
but no, so this is 2011.
Yeah.
Oh,
These-
no, not, yeah. It's a long time
The
ago.
core of the activists at Occupy Wall Street opposed what people were just referring to as the black bloc extremists or the black bloc anarchists. There were a handful of them that had influence in the protests, but most people were like, Tim, we love what you do. Keep doing it. Don't stop. And it was really interesting to see then when I went to the Deplorable, when Trump got elected, some people walked up to me and they were wearing MAGA hats and they were like, hey, we're big fans. We've been big fans since Occupy Wall Street. And I was like, since Occupy Wall Street, like, but you're here to Trump Deplorable, like you're wearing MAGA hats. And they're like, oh, yeah. We used to be big, Democrats and supported Bernie, and now we're voting for Trump and all that stuff. And I saw a lot of that. A lot of the people that I met back in the day who were active with Occupy Wall Street, not all of them, just a decent amount, always hated the violence. It undermined what they were trying to do because they had taking that space and getting the press attention they did was helping them. And then as soon as the violent people came in and started smashing things and attacking people, it undermined what they were trying to accomplish. Yeah. Now I see a lot of those people are voting for Trump.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is, man, I have a friend, and I love it when the left thinks it's always a lie, like it's being made up. And I'm like, dude, why would I tell these stories? Just make them up. It's the stupidest thing ever. I met someone in Ferguson at a Black Lives Matter protest, hated Trump. 2016, hated Trump. 2017, hated Trump. 2018, 2019, hated Trump. 2020, loves Trump.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's the human trafficking issue because like you get the marshals announcing they're catching these criminals and saving these kids, and a lot of people are saying I don't care about anything else. Trump, he's sending out the feds and they're catching these traffickers and the arrests are going way up. But anyway, yeah. Have you? We'll jump over to the crybaby Antifas in the fetal position, but
notice people. I don't think you realize, Tim, what you mean to a lot of people. Dude, especially after when you were on with Rogan and Jack Dorsey and that, I don't think you realized, Tim, and I know you want to be humble about it, but that podcast, bro, like I felt like I was watching like the UFC. I know I'm being dead serious. I'm being Joe Rogan's right there commentating and I felt like I was watching the UFC. Like there are so many things that people have been wanting to say that you said, and I just want to let you know, man, like you mean so much to the culture right now. You literally, bro, it was like Zelda, right? It was literally
Zelda?
like Zelda, bro. Like the final boss of the game. Like you're going one-on-one with Ganondorf, right? And like you're like the hero of time.
That's a crazy story.
You are
man.
the hero of time, bro. Tim Pool is the
all
hero
right.
of time.
Well, I appreciate it.
So many people, left and right, they because of that, they love you because of that, man.
I appreciate that. It's crazy. It is a crazy story how it all came together. I think Joe had this long plan that I had no idea what was going on. Like he knew what he was planning on doing. He was putting the pieces together. I didn't until like at the last minute. He's like, "Hey, bro, you want to come on? And I was like, I told him, I literally said to him, I was like, bro, I'm like a baby bird in the nest. You're kicking me out, trying to see if I can fly, man.
Yep.
I don't know if I literally said that. I'm like,
well, you flew, bro.
and yeah, and
You
so
flew, you soared, bro.
That's right.
look, I was like, I just do my thing, right? So you can say this stuff. I just sit in a room and I yell at a camera all day.
So-
I just, I just do my thing.
So my favorite part about that was that Tim did not graduate high school, and he was up against the single best lawyer that money can buy,
Yep.
and he pretty much owned her, and
Was
it
she?
was fantastic.
That's a
what I'm
compliment
saying,
for
Are you
her.
kidding? The Twitter lawyer? Seriously.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. That what that interview meant to a lot of people, you just maybe you're not even aware of how much
Probably
that meant
not,
to people, man.
because I'm just sitting in a room and I was like, I'm gonna tell them what for. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
and that
I
was
don't-
just epic.
But I mean, even after that, there were things that I was like, I forgot to bring this up. I forgot to bring this up. I forgot to bring this up.
It
And
was sufficient, man. I'm
Well-
telling you, it was like watching UFC. Joe Rogan's right there commentating.
It's perfect.
I was rooting you on.
Yeah,
He's got
man.
to-
millions of people were as well.
I
that
think-
day.
That beer.
I think he's got to do. I think Joe should do more of these Crossfire style,
Yeah.
shows.
Yeah.
Because it used to be a big thing on who did this? CNN, was it CNN or Fox News?
Crossfire?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was CNN.
You know what the Crossfire was?
Yeah.
They got rid of it, but it was like a liberal conservative, and they would like talk.
That's great,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was a really good idea, and Jon Stewart like ragged on it anyway. Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. So come back to check us out when we go live. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell, and we are also available on all podcast platforms for free if you want to listen to us there. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you all next time.